What is going on, everybody? Zach RC here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome along to episode number 48 of the F1 Ultimate Career Series for the Italian Grand Prix. If you guys did miss the last episode, make sure to go check that one out before you see this one. And as always, if you are new around here, then make sure to get subscribed for more future F1 content as the series continues on. So, into the final quarter then of the 2022 F1 season, and we are in top position to try and claim our first World Championship. We get a result from our marketing department dilemma from a couple of episodes ago, so the caps and flags so better than expected. We made a nice profit there, so actually made 100k, obviously 1.2k on the driver acclaim as well, but obviously driver acclaim not too important in this series. In terms of resource points, we've got 3,200 to spend, so I'll put those towards upgrades. I'm looking towards durability for this episode, because obviously I'm fearing some of the power unit parts towards the end of the season. Of course, the last thing we want is to try and damage our points lead with potentially any mechanical retirements. Everyone out in all season so far. We'll repair the chassis upgrade that of course failed last time out, and we'll go for an aero one as well, so minor upgrade on that front. That'll come in before the next race in Austin, Texas. We are closing in now. There's actually a chance we could end this season as the fastest team on the grid. We've closed that gap from us to Ferrari and Red Bull. It's been such a drive so far. You see how far back we were and how close we are now. But McLaren are awfully close to us too. In terms of power unit then, so the ICE is looking quite worn at this point. I don't want to risk a retirement around Monza, so we're going to put a fresh power unit part in there on the ICE front. And in terms of the MGUH and turbocharger, I might change those after qualifying. We'll see what the wear looks like after practice. What I might do is I might switch out all the components to their old ones and obviously try and get a bit more wear on those to try and preserve our current parts. There's the standings then, 19-point lead over Verstappen, so we could put ourselves a full race victory clear should things go well today. We can outscore Max by about 7-8 points. And Sainz in third place, I think the championship more or less over for him. And Perez with the rivalry still leads us by 2 despite our victory last time out. So still looking to try and beat him in the last few races of our rivalry. Advancing time here, no more resource points coming in before the race weekend. And not a lot really more to be said in terms of just trying to get a race win here. It's been tough the last 2 seasons. We've had a heartbreak the last 2 years, but could this be our day potentially? Let's find out. Time to head to Monza. Here we go then, time for qualifying at the Temple of Speed. It is Monza itself, and it is time for the Italian Grand Prix. Now, before we got on the racetrack, we had a sensor fault on the car, so we'd have to make the change in terms to wait for that to be fixed. But we did make a lot of changes during quick practice to change over all our power unit parts, so we'll change those back, and obviously fresh IC go in the car before we head on the racetrack for our first run. So the power unit's still okay, trying to preserve that as much as we can, trying to avoid taking any more power unit parts if we have to. But obviously we'll get a grid drop for the ICE, so we'll see where that puts us, and from there decide if we need to switch for the Grand Prix. But on to our first flying lap then, and the long run down towards the first chicane begins. We've got one of the cars, one of the Haas cars, it might be Kevin Magnussen, so we could try and get a tow for a close up later on in the lap, but we'll try and focus ourselves into the first corner. Very tight turn 1, horrible if we get it wrong, especially that gravel trap waiting for you on corner exit. But out of turn 2, nice and steady exit, and making our way towards Curva Grande, the right-hander of turn 3. So obviously taken very flat out there. Latifi first lap on the ball, 120 on 4. Perez 119.6. So Perez will be our benchmark early on in this session. To complete the first sector, 26.8 in the first sector. We head down to the De La Roche chicane of turns 4 and 5. Pushing on now towards the end of the lap and going into Parabolica turn 11 to complete our first flying lap. And coming towards the line here. Hasn't been fantastic. We haven't really pulled up any trees on this first run, so I imagine we'll be quite a way down in terms of time. So 121, that's an awful time there on our first lap. A lot of time to be gained, a lot of work to be done. So as it was last time, we'll go again on another lap on this set of soft tyres. I think we've got enough battery to hold on over the course of this second lap. We've got to manage to get a tow off Magnussen, who backed off after his first lap. So up by about 6/10 right now, a purple sector 2. So there's every chance we can try and put ourselves a bit higher in the order here. 7/10 into Parabolica once again, but losing time on corner exit, but gaining it back. So we're 3/4 of a second up on our previous effort, which is always an improvement as we run up towards the line. DRS employ, and we are 120.373, but into P5, but still behind Magnussen. So despite us getting a tow off the Haas machine there, it didn't really work out for us. We've gone to one set of soft tyres, a second set, and gone for our final lap here. Purple sector 2 once again, there's every chance he gets us up the order here, but we're P10. We've been hugely off the pace in qualifying. Whether it's the warm power unit parts, I don't know. Coming out of the last corner here, we'll have pace for the Grand Prix. We make our way off of turn 11 and up towards the line, improving by 2/10. See what that puts us on the starting grid, P8 in the end, and obviously we'll get a grid drop from that. So a poor qualifying will likely have us starting towards the back of the pack, but we'll see how bad the damage is in the qualifying results.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves once again of our top 3, Perez, Leclerc and Lando Norris. With qualifying complete, all that remains now is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So Perez on pole once again, then Leclerc second, Lando Norris third, Verstappen crucially fourth, we qualify 8th, and it's a 10-place grid penalty for the ICE change, so likely we're going to change up our turbocharger, change up our MGUH, and get fresh power units in for the race start. Of course, this circuit has haunted us twice in the past with close chances to win. Can we try and redeem ourselves today?
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today, here at the oldest circuit on the calendar, which hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. With top speeds reaching 215 miles per hour, only a few places can challenge Monza's crown as the fastest track in Formula One. Hard braking zones going into the 3 chicanes make up the majority of the 11 corners on this 3.6-mile circuit. And just in case the slipstream wasn't enough, 2 DRS zones will help encourage some close action. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Sergio Perez will lead us away from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, and Bottas, Gasly, Verstappen, Hamilton, and Carlos Sainz. Vettel, Joe, Lance Stroll, they've taken a grid penalty, and Latifi. Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, Esteban Ocon, and Yuki Tsunoda. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Albon and Cohen. With preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
Here we go then, no more talking, time for action from the Italian Grand Prix, from dead last on the grid to taking a fresh ICE for this race, fresh MGUH and fresh turbocharger as well. In terms of strategy for the race ahead then, medium tyres start, going on to the hard tyres later on the race. Again, we'll have a look at the alternate strategies, starting on the hards and going to the mediums, but no real time to be gained there. Obviously, everyone we want to be trying to be as quick as they can on circuits such as this one. So we'll keep the strategy as it is and see where the cars stack up. And obviously, we need to try and get through the field and try and close up at the very least to Max Verstappen.
The formation lap gets underway and every driver will be looking to settle in for the race ahead, making sure that their car is ready for the battle once the lights go out.
Perez leads away, then everyone on medium tyres, so no outliers to start this Grand Prix. Here we go though, on to the starting grid. Of course, dead last here in our first season of Ultimate Career. We came within 2.5 laps of victory until Bottas caught us in the closing laps. Last season, our turbocharger wore out and that was it, game over for us. We retired from the lead of the Grand Prix, so twice now we've been denied race victories here. What is going on? Why are we so far forward? We're dead last on the grid. Why are we past cars on the formation lap? Putting the car over to the right there. We're not going to start the Grand Prix from there, surely. Facing the pit walls, the last cars take their places. So dead last, and actually there's a good chance we may run it into the pit wall, get damage on this first lap. So the lights are set to come on, and we're still there. Okay, right, so we're starting the race from here on the grid. We're off the grid completely. 5 lights are on. Lights out, foot to the floor, and we're racing here. We have to pull the car over, a quick left-hand turn, and make our way back onto the racetrack again. So the race is underway. Luckily, nothing lost in that. Good thing we're starting last as it is. So going down towards turn 1 then. A very peculiar start to this Italian Grand Prix. We're down the inside of several cars. Business as always into turn 1. Very tight right-hander for that first corner. 3 wide with a number of cars, but on our left there, Tsunoda and Ocon side by side. There's Latifi just in front. So P17 then on corner X. So up 3 places despite that very weird starting spot. Now in through Curva Grande for the first time. Nicholas Latifi is our next target. Magnussen just in front of him. So all in all, a weird start, but a solid getaway down the inside of Latifi there at turn 4, looking for P16. We'll take P16. That's 4 places then off the opening sector alone. And pushing on further now out to Ascari in the first lap. Magnussen gets all screwed up behind Stroll, Schumacher and Vettel. Hold to the left-hand side, try and get around the Haas for Parabolica. Around the outside, going into turn 11 and passing Magnussen. Can we try and get alongside Stroll in the braking zone? Can't quite do it. Stroll defends the outside, keeps both cars at bay here. Magnussen still underneath us, still on our right there on corner exit. Leclerc leads the first lap to the cheers of Tifosi in the grandstands. We're going back towards turn 1, start lap 2 of this race. Stroll and Vettel side by side, and Verstappen's in the pit lane there. The Red Bull off the pit, and it's Max Verstappen who's got some kind of problem here. I saw his name flash past on the leaderboard. What's gone on to our championship rival? Down the inside of both Aston Martins there. That's a poor move to be making this early on the Grand Prix, and we deserved every last shove onto the grass there. But what just happened to Max Verstappen as we rejoin and get around Lance Stroll for P13? What has happened to our championship rival on the opening lap of this race? Looks like a big opportunity to try and gain some points in the standings. It looks like they had some sort of damage here. Verstappen's lost an end plate there, so he's made contact with the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz in front of him while he was busy fighting Pierre Gasly. And as a result of that, Verstappen pits early on and is now at the back of the pack. So a big opportunity now for us to try and gain some huge points in the championship. This charge works out. Down the inside of Schumacher into turn 7, the second Lesmo, and making our move on corner exit and pulling away for P12. And Sebastian Vettel now our next target in the other Aston Martin. On to the end lap number 2 now, closing up towards Parabolica. Once again going to pull to the inside of the German, going into turn 11, into the right-hander, pulling underneath and taking P11 away. So 1 place now off the points within the first 2 laps. It's been a fantastic start to this race. Obviously improved even more by the fact that Verstappen is down the order and a long way back with a lot of work to do in this Grand Prix. DRS gets deployed onto lap 4 now, and Guan Yu Zhou is our next target in the Alfa Romeo. Hamilton sits there in 9th place. Then I believe it's Gasly in front of him, and then Valtteri Bottas in P7 in the other Alfa Romeo. It's going down towards Ascari and making our move in the DRS zone, going pull to the outside of the racetrack, going into the chicane here, around the outside of Zhou, breaks early. Gasly locks up, goes straight on there, so we go around the outside of Gasly and at the inside of Ascari as well, and making that move sticks. That's 2 places gained now, up to P9 though, so into the points paying places for the first time today, and any points we score now will be gaining in our advantage on Verstappen. Onto lap 5 and chasing our teammate Lewis Hamilton for 8th place, and forcing to the inside, go to the outside at turn 1, following in his wake all the way down to the braking zone and pulling out at the last second, and on the inside of our teammate at turn 2, making that pass stick and passing Hamilton into 8th place. Sainz in P7, and Bottas in P6, so the Alfa Romeo is doing a very good job early on this race. But on to lap 8, Sainz has dispatched Bottas, and we've got to try and take him on now, take P7 for ourselves. So through turn 6 and running on the tail of the fin, but also got our teammate behind us as well. Of course, Bottas, the driver, has denied us victory here in the past, so this will be a very satisfying overtake if we can get it done on him now. DRS in play once again, as we did in his teammate, going towards Ascari, towards the chicane, once again to the outside of Bottas, and it's practically deja vu, making the exact same move as you go into turn number 8. Bottas backs out, Hamilton there right behind him, and as a result we move into 7th place and start working on the top 6 here. Perez and Leclerc look like the strongest cars. It's tough to beat here, but honestly I doubt we can do it. We'll see how it turns out later on in the Grand Prix, because we could get a safety car of some kind. But on to lap 10 here, Sainz, Alonso, and then Ricciardo in 4th place. So Alonso's been fantastic in recent races, going down towards the sky once again, trying the inside on Sainz if we can. Not close to score from move, won't dive, going into the corner, but Alonso locks up and almost goes straight on into the gravel there. We'll take full advantage of that, as we did with Gasly, and now Alonso down to P7. Yellow flag behind us. Bottas has had a problem of some kind. I'm not quite sure what. It looks like has he spun out? Has he got some kind of mechanical problem? Have to see what's actually happened to Bottas. He makes his way down. He's been challenged by Hamilton going into Ascari, and as he makes his way through, was it the same as what Alonso did? It's the same as what Alonso did. So but Alonso was able to keep it on track. Bottas hasn't here, so he's got to go off in the gravel. He's had to wait for everyone to go through his. Vettel is the first car around him, and everyone going charging by Valtteri Bottas, will find himself at the tail end of the order now, and likely will find himself being chased by Max Verstappen, who of course is closing that gap to the cars further back. So Verstappen may still wind up with a point or two if he's lucky in this Grand Prix, but as for us, we're getting huge points on him here. So on to lap 12 of this Grand Prix, our in-lap for our pit stop. It's Ricciardo and Sainz there in front of us, and up front Norris in P3 ahead of these two guys, and still Leclerc and Perez fighting for the lead up front. Going down towards Parabolica here, Sainz might go for moving Ricciardo if he can get close enough. Sainz to the inside, going into turn 11. Ricciardo holds him off there, but backs off, we'll go around the outside of both cars there. Daniel Ricciardo, what are you doing? Out of nowhere, he's just almost stopped off there. We take full advantage of that, goes cycling around the outside and into the pit lane for our first stop into 4th place now. So it's been a mighty charge. Ricciardo joins us in the pits. What did he just do there going into Parabolica? This is without a doubt the weirdest race I've ever seen on this game. And this is F1 22, so we expect something like this, but it's taken 13 rounds, so I'm surprised at that. 2.4 second stop, then onto the hard tyre and getting out back on the racetrack again for our second stint. Of course, the remainder of this Grand Prix. Hamilton stayed out. Of course, he was one of the cars around the signs, also staying out as well. So we'll see whereabouts we emerge compared to those guys. But Perez and Norris also still on the racetrack. Leclerc's made his stop. He's rejoined already. But Perez looks to be one of the dominant cars in this race and might actually take a second win for Red Bull in the last 3 races. Into turn 1 then in P13 as we emerge off the last corner to complete lap 13. And of course, everyone else comes to the pit lane and we make our way down towards turn 1 once again halfway through this Grand Prix. And Sainz and Hamilton, we passed them both in, but Ricciardo's on our tail going down towards turn 1. There is our teammate and the Spaniard on pit exit. Ricciardo to the outside going towards that first corner. Pulls alongside. He can't pull ahead though. We've got the inside line going for turn 1. We'll clear him at turn 2. So holding on to our spot then, and the work begins on trying to hunt down his teammate Lando Norris for the last spot on the podium. Leclerc and Perez at this point, I think, are uncatchable over the course of this rest of this Grand Prix. So we'll push on here, keep on getting on. Ricciardo 7 tenths in front of him already. 4.6 behind Verstappen, who of course is on those medium tyres from his pit on the pit stop on the first lap. But Verstappen does pit again, and that'll knock him back down the order. And we'll see if we can come back to try and claim a point or two. But this will be a big gains in the standings. Could potentially help us steal the title a race earlier if we're lucky. So going down towards turn 1 again, Ricciardo giving us more pressure, pulls to the inside at the first corner, can't get alongside. The proximity arrow goes red for a second, but we'll cut the door, we'll slam it shut and take P4, but hold on to P4 at the exit of turn 2, and we'll start trying to work on closing down Norris here. Leclerc takes the fastest lap at the end of lap number 15. We got good pace in this lap, and it's a bonus point for us. We can try and get it down the main straight here, going back towards turn 1, start lap 16 in this Grand Prix. Fastest lap in our possession, 1:22.1 with the purple last sector. Why can we done a time like that during qualifying in terms of having that sort of pace? But on to lap 24 now, and getting towards the end of this Grand Prix. Norris has been a mighty charge as we close up to him. It'll be the last spot on the podium. Leclerc and Perez 7 seconds in front right now. Perez has this one in the bag. Short something going wrong with this later on in the Grand Prix. We're going down the main straight here, out of Parabolica and towards turn 1. There's only 3 laps to go in this Grand Prix. We're closing on Norris, get our first dosage of DRS here on our compatriot going down towards this first corner. That McLaren's got pace though, so I have to be careful taking him on in the closing moment. Yellow flag at the exit turn number 7. What's going on up there? Looks like one of the Aston Martins has got a problem of some kind. We'll keep on chasing Norris for now until we get word of who is out of the Grand Prix. So we're out of turn number 2 and continue to chase Norris towards 3. It's Vettel. Sebastian Vettel goes out of the race. So another retirement here in Monza. Vettel has had no luck in this series at this specific circuit, even when he was at Ferrari, and of course the last 2 seasons at Aston Martin, and I think the second time in 3 seasons Sebastian Vettel will not finish the Italian Grand Prix. It was 2020 the last time he failed to finish this race, and with 2022 joining that mark there. And disappointing for the 4-time world champion, who was having a solid day outside of the points, had pace, but Aston Martin have struggled a lot this season. Not a lot of points on the board for them as they make their way through. I don't actually believe they've scored all season, so I have to double check that in the standings later on. But Vettel pulls the car over, first retiree of the day, down to 19 cars, but of course our fight is still with Norris here. But we're right behind him as they come towards Parabolica once again. With 2 laps to go when we hit the line, we're trying to make a move on corner exit if we can get close enough to him. We're around his tail, and DRS will be in play, going down towards turn 1. This is our best shot to take P3 away, take the last spot on the podium. You can see Perez and Leclerc in the distance towards turn 1 again. 2 laps to go here at Monza. To the inside of Norris, side by side with the McLaren going towards that first corner. We've got the inside going into the braking zone. Sainz is way back there going into that first corner, side by side. Norris locks up, almost goes straight on again, and that's P3, nice and easy for us, cool as you like, and that's another place game for us, and 15 points to make that 16 with the fastest lap at this stage if we can hold on to this one. But Norris won't let us go that easily. We're pulling away from it now, but that McLaren's still got good pace. He's been one of the faster cars in this Grand Prix, so he might come back at us going on to the last lap. So we push on to that 27 now of the 27 to make up this race. Final lap as Norris might go for one more move into turn number 4 if he can, down to the Della Rocha chicane. Norris tries the inside, contact there, comes across our line, we hit him back, and on corner exit taking P3 back and holding on to it now. We've got about half a lap to hold this lead. Perez is on for his second victory in 3 rounds after we win in Belgium. Leclerc's there for second, trying to take fastest lap back from us as he pushed on to the second Lesman now. Turn 7, not long to go, but Norris is still right there behind us, giving us constant pressure, constant chase. That's 3 more points on Verstappen if we can hold this place, overtake over P4 and down towards the Sky for the final time. Norris closes in. We're going to defend the inside here. We're trying to take the preferred line, going into the left-hander, down into turn 8 and holding off Norris, who backs out of it at turn 9. We force him out. Perez is coming through Parabolica for the final time now to take victory, a historic victory in front of the Tifosi. Perez will come to the line and he will take his second win of the season. Sergio Perez wins the Italian Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc takes second place and nabs the fastest lap point with it at the very end as we come through towards Parabolica now ourselves for the last time. And off of turn 11, we're going to narrowly hold up Norris by about half a second and runs the line. P3, another podium finish, and from dead last on the grid, that's a solid drive. It's not the win like it was in Austria, but still, with Verstappen being as far down the order as he is, I actually think he scores points in this race. So that's a full 15-week game on Max Verstappen, bringing our lead to 34 points in the championship, and we are in very good stead now to win the World Championship.
There it is then, victory in the Italian Grand Prix, an historic race and an achievement they can be immensely proud of. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sport that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win.
So Perez takes the top spot once again, Leclerc finishes second, and we come home in third place. But crucially, it wasn't the win, but the more points we can gain on Verstappen, the better. I think that's probably the best we can do today. The Ferrari and Red Bull, at least in these 2 cases, didn't look like being caught throughout that Grand Prix. They pulled away from lap 1, and that was sort of game over for everyone else. We came back to finish third, the best of the rest over the course of the day, and our wait for a win at the Italian Grand Prix continues on. But let's have a look now at the final results of this Italian Grand Prix and see just how much that affects the championship and how much closer we are to securing the world title for the first time.
So let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Cohen increases their championship lead. Some amazing talent out on the track today. But Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Cohen. They fought so hard and had incredible pace at times, so I don't think anyone else did a better job today.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out? Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
So outside of the podium, then Norris takes away 4th place, Sainz finishes 5th place in the end, Hamilton 6th, then it's Ricciardo, Alonso, Gasly and Magnussen around at the top 10, so another good point for Haas. Verstappen finishes P12 in the end, so it's a full 15 points, as I say, in the championship. Have a look at the standings and see exactly how much that has changed. I think it's to the point now where there's 60 points left to be claimed, including the sprint race in Brazil. If we win the next race with fastest lap and Verstappen fails to score, then we could win the World Championship potentially. I have to wait and see there in terms of that, but 34 points is the good right now, and Red Bull sitting 9 points clear of Mercedes, so not a lot of gain there. There's every chance we're going to end up with both championships. It's going to be quite a haul in these last 3 rounds. Kota, Brazil, and then Abu Dhabi to finish the season off. But guys, that'll do it for this episode of the F1 Ultimate Career Series. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more future F1 content. Have an absolutely fantastic day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.